Hello, darling. And today we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, Japanese art and sources of Japanese sense of beauty. How East and West art influenced to each other. So please sit down, make yourself comfortable, maybe get a cup of tea and be ready for the start. So first I wanted to compare these portraits. Both depict a young, beautiful, handsome person, but West and East art are using a totally different methods and techniques to share the message. On a male portrait, we may see a highly detailized and colorful imaging with a nuanced game of color and shades. On this picture with a female portrait, we may see tendency to black and light and white, line and filling, stylization, vast style of painting in most cases means highly detailized picture, colorful picture with a purpose to depict environment, landscape, still life, portrait, wherever, closer to reality. But for Japanese art, black and white in the most cases was enough, just with a few simple strokes of brush to share the feeling of beauty, to share the feeling of moments of contact, beauty, nature, and human. And Japanese art based on a statement that beauty is a sense of people, opposite on West principle, thinking that are based on a logical beauty. Japanese aesthetic is very subjective, depends on individuality and exists in his mind first of all. So they do not have an unconditional evaluation criteria of beauty instead of West aesthetic, where they had a very clear criteria of beauty. Yes, they were changing all the time in a different epochs, but the criteria always was clear and kind of similar to everyone. Japanese art is not about logic of beauty or reality how it is. It's about, it represents changeable mood of artist. And another very common distinguishing feature of the Japanese art is very big attention to empty space on the picture. In Japanese language, it called ma. Ma is empty space. Empty space full of meaning. They have a lot of pauses in Japanese art where they like to read between lines, where they looking for backside meanings. And in the art we may see a lot of space, a lot of air of white shit. This empty space full of atmosphere, and they're looking for subconscious in that space, in that air. Another basic principle to Japanese art called mono no aware, and aware literally translated like sadness or compassion, and it is very delicately explains the sense of beauty Japanese people. For example, West people think that the top moment of flower beauty is that when flower fully blossom, but Japanese people think that it's much more thoughtful and deep to enjoy the beauty of flower which is fall or began to fade. And the same with the moon. For example, West people like a full moon on a clear sky, but Japanese people preferred to enjoy the moon covered with a cloud. So it is paradox, but they have that special sense of compassion to subjects which started to lose those beauty, and they think that it's a top moment of beauty. So something like that. So you have seen that since the 13th century the accent in Japanese art was on the nature and the moment of contact human with the divinity of nature, and it was because of influence of Zen sect. But in 18th century things changes. First of all, we have an ukiyo-e genre, I will show you later, and also we have moment of explode local tourism in Japan, and tourists buy wood prints which were depicting landmarks of Japan, and like Fuji or another interesting landscape and landmarks. So they use that picture like postcards. And one of the most famous artists of that period doing these postcards was Ando Hiroshige. So another popular genre in that moment, in that period, was ukiyo-e, which illustrated portraits of female geishas, female beauties, courtesans, famous wrestlers, actors of kabuki theater, for example. Also, ukiyo-e represented moments of everyday life citizens, stories from history and folk tales, erotica, and landscape beauty of flora and fauna as well. It was ukiyo-e. Here I have this box with the prints Ando Hiroshige, 100 famous views of Ando. He was an innovator. He created new mixed style of Japanese art, and I will show you interesting features and some of my most favorite prints. This picture represents one of my most favorite methods using in Japanese art. A big item on the foreground, and in the spaces we may see the background. So here you may see again a big eagle on the foreground, and also this picture represents a lot the influence of West art to the Ando Hiroshige. Even if Japan has a very small contact with the rest of the world during a long years, the culture exchanges, little culture exchanges was, and the influence, and it's all this was, and it will be, and it is normal for development of creativity. So he started to use a blue paint first of all, and he changed the way of representing the space. He started to use a different way to represent reality, like from a bird flight, so with a perspective, not only like a plane. So for example, here on that picture you clearly may see perspective in the bridge and on the way of portrait nature, so it is perspective. It's also very interesting feature is he started to include people on the pictures. So look at this picture and pay attention. That was the difference. Here is crowds and people is the main object on the picture. The moment of event, celebration, walking on the street full of crowds. So it is a moment of everyday life of citizens. It's very, very interesting. It is another picture from 100 of views of a dog collection. But pay attention that here we do not see landmarks. We see the moment of fighting between human and nature, the moments of everyday struggles, and it is totally different from his own art. He made this 100 of head of views collection when he was quite old, I think. He was over 70, I suppose, if I remember correctly. So at the end of his life, he changed his style of pictures a lot, and it was caused a lot by influence of West art. He inspired a lot to portray reality how it is, and he mixed it with the Japanese style of painting, which represent impression of the moment, feelings of the viewer. I really, really deeply respect his creativity, and I think that they still look very modern because it's pretty similar concept to photo shooting. So catch the moment, catch the impression, and I love a lot his way of composition with a big item on the foreground. It's very, very fresh looking for me. Mono Avare and interest to nature is still inherent to his creativity, but at the same time, look at this, the moment of hard work. Look at these details, hairs on the legs and hands. It is totally different style which inspired a lot of my favorite creators, Russian creators, and from other places in the world as well. From other sides, when in 19th century borders of Japan was open and a lot of rarities, including Japanese postcards and play prints, floated into Europe, they had a very big influence to artists of that period, like Monet, Van Gogh, Toulouse-Lautrec, etc. So you will see it clear now after our conversation, and I will show you just a few pictures of Toulouse-Lautrec and you will see. So for example, how about this print? It's a fish for the theatre, and you may see that it's print, so it is print like in Japan. A lot of lines and filling and a lot of stylization. Or here you may see that the artist tried to capture the momentary sensation, to share the feeling of that moment, to capture that very fast momentary emotion. And artists began to share those individual feelings and those individual vision of beauty, which might be very different from general criteria of beauty. One of my favorite Russian artists, who is a poet as well, Voloshin, told that Impressionism started at the moment when Monet first time have seen a Japanese postcard, and it was the moment of the start long way of Impressionism. And they thought that Japanese were very first and the most perfect impressionist. Not in the common meaning, of course, but we are talking about the sense and essence of the subject, if you know what I mean. So I hope that today's meeting and conversation were interesting and relaxing for you, and you had a good time. And I was very glad to share with you some of interesting facts and pictures which I like a lot. Thank you.